You said a couple things that are maybe counterintuitive to the lay user. One of which is that there's a lot less being produced. Like I always say with my wife sitting on the couch, there's so much more content out here that it's hard for me to find the stuff that like we really want to watch. It's interesting to me that there's actually less being made, and maybe that's the foster of the change from cable to streaming, and a lot of the stuff on cable maybe isn't being produced. But in particular, you mentioning the long tail of royalty kind of payments and things like that is changing. Is that contractual, or is that just the changing consumer dynamic of we're just not watching things that are 5 years old anymore and it's a lot more fleeting?
Well, what's funny is like when they make a licensing deal for Friends or for Seinfeld, anyone involved in those shows is getting paid the way they got paid 25 years ago. So like there might be a 400, $800 million licensing deal for 5 years or 10 years of one of those shows. All that money is going to that pool of talent from 20 years ago and is being paid out in the same way. But the model has changed for, more recently and going forward. Again, it sort of started with Netflix that decided they would do back-end buyouts. And so the concept of this was, let's say you're a $1 million producer. They would then say, you're producing this kind of a movie. It's similar to these kinds of movies. Normally that movie would probably make X at the theater. If it made X, you would probably have made $1 million as your back-end buyout. That's sort of the middle case. So we're going to give you actually $2 million up front. So initially, producers were like, "Okay, wait a minute. Like, so I'm guaranteed 2 million. I actually would only be paid 1 million at a traditional studio, and I'd have to hope that the movie at least made that much. But if it were bad and it made nothing, you might just make $1 million total as a producer. Now you're guaranteed two. However, in that though you never know, and that's the whole thing of Hollywood. It's like nobody ever knows when these things break out and turn into these massive hits. But that case, you might have made 10 as a producer, and you're sort of giving up that upside because you're like, I'm just going to take the million in the bank and that feels good.